everyone. Thank you for joining me today at Azure Community Conference. I am Anshul Bhandari. I'm an IT pre-sales specialist at PTC. I take care of their IoT product, which is ThingWorks, and also their augmented reality product, which is Euphoria. So I'm highly passionate towards working on technologies. Like I started working on Java, then JavaScript, Node.js, Angular. Then I started working on IoT projects, which gave me way towards working on data science and augmented reality. And currently, I'm working on digital transformation for organizations. So, we realize amidst this COVID situation that there are so many repercussions that we saw because of COVID. And look at us where we are now. So I never thought I'm gonna give a huge virtual conference like today addressing such a large audience. And this is possible. Look at where we have come now. So similarly for organizations, for various industries, factories, they have seen repercussions of COVID, and the COVID has hit them hard. Their productivity has decreased to from probably 100 to 30%, 0% in certain cases. There are mismanagements, the entire shop floor, the entire manufacturing unit is at halt. So for them also, it's important that they also come out of it. And one such solution is digital transformation. And I help companies and these organizations to walk them through their digital transformation journey. So today we'll talk about a small piece of digital transformation journey, which is planning your unplanned downtime. So let's get started. All right, let's get started. So the topic for today is planning your unplanned downtime. The agenda is we'll talk about unplanned downtime, what are the IoT solution building blocks, which is a step towards digital transformation. We'll talk about how data ingestion is critical in IoT solution building block, and we'll see a small demo on Azure IoT Hub connecting with Kepware. We'll see analytics, overview of predictive analytics, and briefly we'll discuss about the algorithms, model validation, and in the end, we'll see a small demo on predictive analytics, and it's a surprise for you. So what is this unplanned downtime? Let's suppose there is the plant head of a manufacturing unit, and amidst this COVID situation, he gets to know that the entire manufacturing unit has just stopped. The entire manufacturing unit is not working. It has reached to production zero. So now this plant head calls the plant manager that what is the situation, why has this happened? And the plant manager says that probably because there is a failure that has happened, and they're still evaluating the real root cause of the failure. So you see, there is nothing that they have solid in their hands. Neither they could control the failure, nor they have the right root cause for the failure. And the plant manager says that he did the best he could. So unplanned downtime. 82% of the companies have experienced unplanned downtime over the past 3 years, and that unplanned downtime can cost a company as much as $260K an hour. Isn't that grave? The same study also found that unplanned downtime is also driving renewed investment in digital transformation. That is where we are today. Unplanned downtime results in the loss of customer trust and productivity. Like 46% couldn't deliver service to the customer. 37% lost production time on a critical asset, and 29% were totally unable to deliver any services on their asset. So it's a humongous loss. It's not just the loss of finance, it's the loss of the customer. So the entire effort and the entire support that you have built from the customer, it just gets lost because of such situations. So digital transformation is highly important, and a step towards digital transformation is IoT implementation across. So if you see these five labels, these are basically the building blocks or the levels how we do the how we do the IoT implementation. And specifically in PTC, this is how we so these are the ways we combine the entire levels to deliver an end-to-end implementation of the IoT. So from the very start, it is source. Source is basically the data ingestion. We understand that the source of data could be heterogeneous, coming from various devices, various systems. So it's important that we get the data, all the data, specifically all the data into our system. The next is the contextualize. Contextualize is getting all the data onto the platform, and then you give some meaning to that data. So the raw data would absolutely be nothing, just the data for you, just the bulk of data that you collect, but there has to be meaning to data so that you can drive actions from that data, which is a synthesized part. So synthesize is basically where you gain valuable insight of the data that you have collected, and then you orchestrate, then you create the workflow so that you can deliver an experience to the end customer, which is the engaged part. So that experience could be either in form of web application, could be in form of mobile application, and augmented reality experience, so on. Okay, so at PTC, we have a complete digital transformation suite, which right from the CAD level Creo, then we have Windchill, which is the product lifecycle management, then we have ThingWorks, which is the IoT building platform, then we have Euphoria, which is the augmented reality platform, and we are very strongly supported and synergized with our partners. And one such partner that we have is Microsoft Azure, which backs up the cloud platform for our ThingWorks, which is IoT, and not just IoT, in some form or the other, it backs up the entire digital transformation suite. So we have a very strong synergy with the Microsoft Azure, and the most important part is the entire PTC ThingWorks cloud is on Microsoft Azure. Okay, so the first step that I talk about is connect part, which is the source part. So it's important that whatever layer that lies between, with whatever platform that lies between, should be able to get the data from every source. The data comes from the disparate system. It comes from, let's suppose, in the industrial segment, it can come from PLCs, MES, SCADAs, historians, or the data could be coming from any of the cloud services, like it can come from Microsoft Azure through IoT Connector, AWS, GPredix, any proprietary cloud service. The data could come from SDKs, the data can come from gateways, the data can also come from REST APIs, JDBCs, the data can come from ERP, CRM. So you see, we've got data coming from so many disparate systems, and it is important that we collect all of this data. We should have the feasibility of connecting with all of that data. And for that, we have, so in the last we see, there is a SCEPware that we have. And of course, there are various ways we can connect. Today, we'll talk about specifically Microsoft Azure IoT Hub, which acts as a central message hub for a bidirectional communication between the applications, which is the IT application, and the devices or the sensors. So today we'll have a small demo which will actually have a bidirectional communication between the device and the application through Azure IoT Hub. And the protocol that we'll show today is MQTT. We can also do it through REST. I'll use SCEPware today for this. So let's okay, so I'll open my Azure portal first. Okay, let me create an IoT hub. Create one. This resource group is basically like a container where you'll put all your resources of your Azure solution or a different solution altogether into one resource group, which is entirely on you. So let's suppose I'll keep it Azure conference today. I'll create one Azure conference. Okay, I'll create an Azure ID hub name. Let's suppose I'll do it test hub 09, my favorite number. All right, let's review and create it. Okay, so the deployment is complete. We'll see, this is the Kepware. Like I said, Kepware is a data ingestion platform which has 150 plus drivers, and it is highly useful when you are dealing with SU use case, which is smart connected operations, where you can get the data from your PLCs and all of those different drivers that we have. So we'll connect using the IoT gateway and the IoT hub through MQTT protocol. Now this is absolutely complete. Now let's go to it. Let's go to the IoT hub overview. Go to the resource. So we'll copy this and we'll go to Device Explorer and we'll use the host name here. So this is the host name, where here we have to add the string. We'll go to shared access policies. Click on this. We'll paste the connection string from here, and it needs what? It needs IoT hub connection string, and we'll paste it here. We'll check for the update and it says settings updated successfully. Very nice. Next, we'll go to the management. We'll create the device. Let's suppose I'll create my device, or let's suppose my Azure device, and I create it. So because I have just created it twice. Done. So here is the device, and we'll generate a SaaS token for it. My Azure device, let's suppose this reaches till 30 for 30 days, and this is the SaaS token. So what is required is from this SaaS token. This is what we require when we'll talk about the credential part. Now let's go to the Kepware and add an agent. Let's suppose I say my MQTT agent. I'll click on MQTT client that I want. Now this URL will be SSL, and we'll write the host name here, Control V, and it works on 8883. Topic I've copied, which is device slash device ID is what you have added there, which is what is the name of my Azure device? My Azure device / messages / events. I should increase the timeout so that, all right. So this client ID is basically your device ID, which is my Azure device. Username is basically your host name. So with the device ID, which is my Azure device, and password is, like I said, is your SaaS token. Control C, done, Control V, finish. And now we'll add an IoT item. Let's suppose we'll add any system item. It could be maybe seconds, apply, every scan. Okay. Here you see MQTT agent. My MQTT agent is connected to the broker test hub 09, which is our Azure. And if I go down, it says total number of messages. It says connected. Let me just refresh it. And what we can also do is we'll go to the device and we'll refresh. It says connected. We'll go to the data and my Azure device will monitor, and you should have the data coming. Let me add more item to it. Time PM. It's done. Every scan. Okay. And we'll go to the, so you see here it is receiving the data. So what we have done is we've had a two-way communication. We will also messages, we can also send. Let's suppose I've sent hi and add timestamp, and it is sending it to my Azure device. Send to device ID, my Azure device, message this. So let's go and see the status. Device to cloud messages, total number of messages. I think this is taking some time, otherwise total number of devices connected should be, because if you see here, it says that the device is connected. I'll just try refresh. Total number of messages sent is 2. Messages used today, because we have sent, it is 23. Telemetry messages sent, and yeah. So let's go to the presentation. So we've done the data ingestion of the platform. The data ingestion is already there. Now it is that once the data is inside the platform, where we are supposed to gain valuable insight with the help of the mathematical formulas and all of that, and drive an action from that data. Now this action, when driven, we take that feedback and get it into the system, which is, so this is analytics, which is an iterative process. You keep on learning you keep on making the model learn, you keep on training the model. Now there are various levels of analytics. We have descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. Now what is a descriptive analytic? A descriptive analytics is when you have reports and dashboards, and you're able to see the pattern and tell that I can see a failure happening across. Diagnostic is when you see that pattern, you're also able to tell what has led to that event. For example, if there is a failure, you're able to tell that this failure is happening because either it could be a temperature high, there is increase in temperature, increase in the moisture. Predictive is that based on the data that you have collected, you have gained enough action on it, and now you're able to tell that in next 2 hours the machine might fail. And prescriptive is that in next 2 hours the machine might fail. This is what you can prescribe. Probably you can decrease the temperature by 1 degree Celsius. So prescriptive is more like an optimization of what you have done. So these are the 4 levels of analytics in a very layman language, and there are various levels of human interaction to it. For example, the various decisions that needs to be taken care during descriptive stage, during diagnostic, during predictive, and prescriptive. And then you keep on sending the feedback to the system in order to make your model learn. Overview of the predictive analytics. First is the data preparation stage, which is the collection, cleansing, feature engineering. It is the data profiling stage. Then it's a model training. You create the model, you build a model, and then you train the model with the data. Then you assess the model performance across multiple models with various parameters. And then you choose the champion model. So for performing analytics, we have various platforms currently in the market, and one such is Azure Databricks that we have. And this Azure Databricks is very fast, easy, Apache Spark based analytics service. Now, data can either come in a raw from Azure or through Azure Data Factory in batches, or it could be coming as a real-time streaming data from Azure IoT Hub or Kafka. Now, once the data is within the platform, you can have various, you can do the analytics part, and for the persistent part, you can have data lakes or Azure blob storage and so on. Okay, so platform is all done, but what are the goals in an analytics that we talk about? So basically, goals are what you want to achieve from analytics, like you want to predict the failure, or you want to predict the number of hours to the failure. So we have three very broad category of goals that we talk about. One is the continuous, then we have Boolean, and then we have categorical. So continuous goal variable is like how many hours are left for a failure, a number of hours left, a number of customers that will experience the churn. Boolean is like true and false, whether the failure will occur or not, whether the churn will occur or not, and so on. Categorical is like anything after the two things, like good, bad, worst, like mean, medium, mode, and so on. Red, blue, black. So anything which is other than two is categorical. So data consideration. So every platform has their own way of having the model creation, and what we emphasize is that, for example, we've got 100 data sets, we have 80 data sets which is used for training the data, and 20 data sets that is used for validating the data. It's like you have your examinations and you're preparing it through 10 previous year question papers. So out of those 10, you will have 8 question papers that you'll be training yourself for the exam, and 2 you will probably check based on the knowledge that you have gathered from the previous 8 papers. So that is how we do the training part. And then again we have these 100 sets randomly, and we choose 80 for training the data and 20 for validation of the model. So this predictive model, we do, of course, there are various algorithms that is currently in the market, like linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, neural networks, support vector machines. Random forest and gradient boosting machines are basically examples of your decision trees. So we'll take them one by one. So linear regression is a learning algorithm that predicts a continuous goal variable, like whether you want to predict the failure or not. And basically it's like how many hours you want to predict the failure. For example, you see here, can you predict how many microns of drilling will be off the target for machines in an assembly line based on a feature such as average pump pressure, number of hours a machine has been running. We have logistic regression, which is for class or categorical goal variable, like whether it's going to predict a pump failure inside a machinery based on several features such as number of hours a pump has been continuously operating, maximum pump pressure in the last 30 minutes. Then we have decision tree. Decision tree is like you are building it for the class or the value for both of the goal variables, but it's like you're splitting your input feature into hierarchies, into different trees. Neural networks is like you have these nodes in position, and these interconnected nodes help you to predict a class or a value. Then random forest, gradient boosting are examples of a decision tree with more trees in place. Support vectors are basically when you want to differentiate, or you want to completely separate between the classes. So it is used for your Boolean goal variable, whether true and false. It attempts to classify data in a way that creates the largest separation between the classes. Then we have ensemble techniques is basically a very different kind of learner. They are a group of learners themselves. They are not a single learning technique. So for example, we have average, we have best, elite, average, majority vote, solicist. So these are basically, they choose among any of them based on the use case and give the correct model. So they choose themselves what is the best learn a technique that they can use, whether it's a combination of average and elite, whether they want to combine best and elite and for a use case and predict and get the model. Now model development techniques, so basically like we've been following from last, that is you train the model, you build the algorithm and you build the model. Now there are various model validation techniques. We'll take them one by one. So once a model is created, you are supposed to check whether the model performance is right or not. And how we do it based on RMSEs, Pearson correlations, model accuracies. These are various scales by which we check the performance of the model, like root mean square error. So it is basically first we find out the error between the predicted values and the real-time values, and then we square it. So when you square it, so higher the RMSE, higher is the performance of your model. Then Pearson correlation, higher the Pearson correlation, higher is the model performance, model accuracy, ROCs. Then specificity, recall, precision, they work like checking what has been the predictive negatives, positives, and what is the actual negative and positives. So like precision is represent the fraction of instances which are classified as positive that are actually positive. R square is basically the fraction of the variance in the goal, that is a dependent variable that is predicted by the independent variable in the goal in the model. And adjusted R square is similar to R square. So difference between R square and adjusted R square is that adjusted R square are independent of the data sets. Now there could be a situation that whether you are predicting the model and you are comparing two models, but you have to, how do you compare the model? You can compare the model by using by checking what are the R squared. So when you want to check the data sets that has been used to create these model, you will use R square. When you want to be data set neutral, you'll use adjusted R square. Okay, so a question that I leave all of you is a 99.9%, is any model a 99.9% accurate? I want your answers there in the chat box. So let's suppose you create a model and that model is 99.9%. Is it possible or is it not possible, and what is your reaction? Please write your answer in the chat box below. Now let's go and do a demonstration of the analytics, predictive analytics use case. So for the demo, we'll need the Kepware for the data ingestion part. The purpose of the demo is to create a virtual sensor. Now, what is a virtual sensor? A virtual sensor is that you replace the existing physical sensor by predicting the value of that physical sensor. So out of the 5 parameters, 4 parameters are enough to capture the value of the 5th parameter. So the value of the 4 sensors. Through the value of these 4 sensors, we're able to predict the value of the 5th sensor. So now what we'll do is we have data set that is coming from combined cycle power plant, which is CCPP. And we'll get the data in real time. And how will we do it? We already have the data in CSV. We'll put it into the Kepware and stream it in real time into the platform. And on the other side on the platform, we'll have analytics running with the same data, which will predict the value of the electrical output. So the electrical output value that is coming in the real time should be similar to what we have in the predictive value of the electrical output from the analytics. So let's get started. What we have to do is we'll add a channel here and we'll add an advanced simulator. Next, let me say CCPP data. Next, Next, we'll add the data source. The data source, how we do is we configure the data source. Let me remove this so that you understand how do we do it. We add the DSN, we add the CSV file to it, and we write the name of the data source. And where do I get it correctly from is CCPP data. I take this, I click OK, use the options, define the format, and if you come here and see, this is what we'll get electrical output, relative humidity, and these are all going to come in the real time. So I save it. Okay, I don't know what kind of error that comes, but it has. All right, so we have done, and we have this for 30 seconds. Next, finish. Now next is we'll add the device. Let's suppose this device is CCPP, and next, and we'll select CCPP data. That should come from the data, and at least 1000 rows, and next, finish. So soon it will start showing us the tags. Okay, we've got the data placed. Now what we have done is, if we had the data in the CSV file, we have streamed into the Kepware, and now we are streaming it real time into the ThingWorx platform, and we'll add this data into its digital twin. Let me first create an application key so that we can connect with KepX administrator. Yes, save. We'll first connect with the Kepware project properties, ThingWorx. Yes, I'll rather use 127.2.0 because you see, whenever we are doing the demo, there's something that can go wrong, and I don't want anything to go wrong. Alright, Control V. Yes, 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 and this is KepX. Apply. Okay, connected. Perfect. Now what we'll do next is we'll create an industrial thing connection with the same name, maybe, or it could be different name. KepX. Save. Okay, I'll say KepX1, and this is what we have to connect it to, KepX1, and I'll connect this also with KepX1. Apply. Okay, and you see, so this Kepware is now connected with the Kepware. Now we'll discover remote thing, and I add it to my device and save. Okay, this is gonna take some time, and we'll have it connected, and it is connected, and this is where we are getting the data. What parallelly we'll also do is, for this we'll create electrical output soft sensor, or in your words, virtual sensor. So based, oops, what we also have to do is, it's a number, and it is persistent. We'll save it and save. So what we have done is, by the data that we are collecting, we'll be able to now predict the value of this world's virtual sensor. We'll add the data. CCPP. We'll choose the file. It's in this. Here it is. CCPP, and we add, and we do not want to upload the metadata. Submit. For simplicity purpose, we'll not put it categorical because it is the identity. We'll just put it informational. Otherwise, we will have to add the time series data as well. We'll create the create data set. It is going to take maybe a few more seconds. Alright, we've got the data in position. Now we'll create the model. So what we have done is we have got the data. Now next step is to add the meaning. That is also has been done. Now we'll create the model. So we'll create new, we'll add CCPP, the name of the model. We'll select the data set that we have added. Goal is ambient temperature, which is quite near. Sorry, goal is electrical output. So now this is going to take some time. Go to analysis provider. We'll also publish this model. Oh, so just relating to 3.8275, which is good. RMSE normalized 0.05, which is again good. Pearson correlation, like higher the Pearson correlation, better is the performance of your model. Very good. So now we'll go to analysis model that we have published. Okay, we are yet to publish. Yes. Okay, this is already published. We'll go to, this is the model. We've already enabled, correct. We'll go to analysis event. We'll map the data now. First we'll have to create the event. It is my device. Event is the data change. Property is, so something which is similar is the ambient temperature. Then provider name is provider. So this is, we have to create the event for the what we need to do it. Save. So that analysis event has happened. We've created the model, and using the model we are creating a job. So that is the part of the event. Now we'll go to, we'll first enable this event, enable, and we'll go to analysis job. Now let's see here. So it is already completed and we should be able to see. So you've seen that the job has been done in most of the cases. We'll go to my device and see if that electrical model that we have created, the property electrical output, whether it has got the data or not. So just refresh. So just a summary, a wrap up. The predicted value is 482 and what is the real time value that is coming from Kepler is 481. and from a predictive analytics we're able to predict the electrical output as 482, which is pretty cool. So that means our model has worked really well and we're able to predict what is the actual value. So guys, we're in the end of the presentation, but last but not the least, a special thanks to all the sponsors and the communities for arranging this amazing conference, and a very special thanks to the organizers, the volunteers, for having me here. And it's not the end. Let's gear for the last session, which is the keynote session by Aditi. All the best.